Castle Crashers, without a shadow of a doubt, is one of the best video games ever made. It has everything from character unlocks to weapon unlocks to boss fights to a leveling system to insane mode to fucking pets, for God's sake, and so much more. On top of all that, it came out over 10 years ago, with the original being released in 2010. Crazy, I know. Between Castle Crashers original and the remastered version, you can play it on Xbox 360, PS3, Xbox One, PS4, Xbox Series S, PS5, Steam, and Nintendo Switch. There's quite literally no logical reason that someone has not played this game before other than the fact that they're a complete moron. That's right, I'm talking to you, the idiot currently watching this saying they've never played this game. Climb out from underneath that rock and let's get started. Castle Crashers was created by the small company that you've more than likely never heard of called The Behemoth. It was developed by only 5 people and an extremely small budget back in 2010. Let that sink in. It took only 5 people to make this masterpiece, while other studios and franchises put millions of dollars and thousands of developers to make the same garbage every single year. At its core, Castle Crashers is a cartoony style beat 'em up type of game. As you go through the game, you progress through levels while fighting different enemies, bosses, and even each other if you feel like it, all while keeping that nice, funny, cartoony style that everyone loves. Along with the style of the game, Behemoth made the story very simple and easy to follow and didn't try to make anything overly complicated. Essentially, the evil villain pulls up to the king's castle and takes his giant crystal along with the 4 princesses. Yes, the one princess has her face covered for a reason. We'll get back into that later. But the end goal is obviously to beat the boss at the end, save the princesses, get the crystal back, and save the day. Even though the story is pretty cut and dry, they make up for it in so many other ways. With only 5 developers, they made 31 mostly unique playable characters, ranging anywhere from a knight to an alien to even Hattie Haddington. With the choice between 4 different knights to start the game, you progress and unlock characters through mainly 2 different ways, beating the game or the arenas along the way. Beating the game is pretty self-explanatory, and the arenas is essentially just like how they used to have fights back in the Colosseum. They essentially just keep throwing enemies at you until you either die or survive a few rounds, and if you survive, you unlock a character. Oh, and remember how I said you can fight each other? Well, that's what the arena's for, so next time your friend's talking smack, have them pull up and just beat the shit out of them. On top of the 31 playable characters you get to unlock, there are also 81 different unlockable weapons. The weapons range from regular swords, to lollipops, to lightsabers, to a fucking chainsaw. All of which can be found or bought around the world, in the game, in the shops, through different levels, or just playing different characters. Once you unlock a weapon, it can be found by the blacksmith inside of a giant frog's mouth for some reason. To this day, I still don't understand why a frog, but it's cool, so we just let it vibe. On top of the unlockable characters and weapons, there's also 29 different unlockable pets that you get to choose from while playing through the game. They look just like tiny little versions of themselves flying behind you, and it low-key looks kinda sick. There are some that are normal, like a giraffe, a bat, a chicken, nothing crazy, you know? But then on the other side, there's things like a troll, a beholder, and a bipolar bear. I promise you I didn't make that name up, that's literally what it's called in the wiki. Along with unlocking all the different pets, they each have their own unique ability, ranging from helping you fight, to giving you stat boost, to even just giving you more experience. Along with everything unlockable, Castle Crashers has some of the best level and enemy design. They kept everything very simple and followed their art style perfectly, with it never seeming like they were trying too hard. You'll fight night enemies in a castle, or bees in a flowery area, or demons in a volcano-like area. Everything was so perfectly placed and put together that it just makes the game seem that much more enjoyable. On top of the base enemies you fight in the game, there are also over 20 boss fights. Yes, I know what you're thinking. They just reskin some bosses and make you basically fight the same thing. You're completely wrong. Unlike a lot of games that come out nowadays, the only reskin boss in the game is this guy. And even then, it's just because he was brought back from the dead. You'll fight weird bosses like the corn boss, the painter, dragon and sock puppet, to normal bosses like Conehead Groom, Bear Boss, and Necromancer. But they all feel different and unique in their own way, which for a group of only 5 developers is crazy to do. Anyway, some of the boss fights are pretty simple, like the one with the Barbarian boss, while others have different attack patterns in different stages during the fight, such as the final boss, Evil Wizard. At the end of some of the fights, you're able to save the princesses, and they give you a little gift for your troubles, while on other fights, someone else just comes and snatches them before you get a chance to save them. Typical. On top of all those features, there is a level system in the game that is crazy good. It doesn't do the thing that most games do now and make everything overcomplicated with thousands of words that you have to read in order to know what build you want to follow or how you need to upgrade your character. It's literally a bar that you raise and lower that give you stat boosts. And for the magic, it has a different color bar that represents a new magic unlock once you get it to that level. It's simple, but it works absolutely perfectly, and they again didn't try to make anything overcomplicated like a bunch of other games do. After fighting all the bosses and progressing through all the different levels, it all leads to the end fight with the evil wizard. You fight him through all his modes, and once you beat him, you catch and save the last princess, along with the giant crystal that for some reason you ride all the way back home. Again, another thing I don't really understand, but it's sick, so we just let it vibe. Once you return with the safe princess, you go get your well-deserved reward, where you get something a little more surprising. With the ending from The Final Princess, Castle Crashers cements itself as an amazing game that had a basic story and amazing features to follow it up, as well as a bunch of fun and comedic things to keep everything super lighthearted and enjoyable. Like that final scene with the princess, or these animals pooping themselves. All in all, this is one of the best games I've ever played. I've beaten it on Steam, Switch, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, and PS5. I absolutely love this game, and everything that I talked about didn't even cover everything that's in the game. There are so many levels I didn't go over, like the river level with the catfish boss, or fighting the skeletons in the graveyard, or fighting a fucking volcano. There's an insane mode after beating the game that allows you to replay the game and makes it so much harder and so much more enjoyable. There's even a completely different game mode in the game that's like this board game style type of thing, but if I'm being honest, I've only played it like once, so I don't really have much to say. But even so, if you've been living under a rock for the last 14 years, I highly suggest you crawl out from underneath it and get this game right now. It's only $15 on Steam, which is $50 less than most games you're going to buy nowadays, and I'm sure you can find it far cheaper somewhere else. But even so, if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Drop a like to support the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.